and they know that sometimes you mess up, and so it's a lot harder to talk to them about faith issues because they know a lot more about you, and they also know how to press your button and all these other issues. It's a lot harder. In other words, sometimes they just don't want to listen to somebody in their family or close friend preach at them. Shut up, I want to hear from you. But you know what? We still have to do it. And we also have to do it to the strangers and everybody in between. So that person who is on campus, who is walking by, who's having a terrible day, and who you get to smile at and be Jesus for, that person, you might just turn their life around. That'd be an amazing thing, wouldn't it? It's happened before. I'm not kidding. I've seen it happen. But we have to have the guts to go out there and do it. Now, if you flip it over, I'm going to tell you right now, if you are evangelizing and you are not praying, you will not evangelize well. And ultimately, what's going to happen is your faith is going to erode to a point where you will no longer be practicing it if you are not praying. So there's a lot of times our evangelical brothers and sisters will say things like, do you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ? Now I'm going to ask, first of all, I'm going to tell you, I don't think that's a bad question to ask. I think a lot of times people get the wrong timing of the question, because if somebody actually knew me, would they ever have to ask that question? No, they would know whether or not I had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, right? So it's not necessarily the question itself, it's the timing of it. When somebody sits down, I had somebody when I was in school at A&M come and literally, she was a very good looking woman, and she came and said, hi, may I sit with you? And it was in Sabisa. And I was like, yes, you may. And she sat down, and then literally a minute into the conversation, she asked me if I had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And what happens when that happens? She just met me and she's asked me this question. What would you do if somebody just walks up to you and says, do you know Jesus Christ is your personal Lord and Savior? And they just met you. Defensive walls go up. Like, who are you to ask me such a personal question? Those kind of things that's a natural reaction. It's just a timing issue, right? The question is, all right, God bless you. All right? This right here does nothing for you, but I like to do it. So I'm no priest. So we have to be praying. Another point here is this. If somebody does ask you, do you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ? And you are praying, the good answer is this. Yes, I pray. Because what is prayer but anything but a relationship with Jesus Christ? It's more than just listening and talking. It's the whole relationship. That's what prayer is. In fact, our catechism defines prayer as a relationship with God. So a beautiful answer is, yes, I pray. But if you're not praying, you need to be praying. Okay? And then the next thing is, you need to make sure that at the very heart of our evangelization is the Eucharist. Because at the center of everything we do as Catholics, it's right over there in that church. It's the Eucharist. All the grace we need to evangelize flows from the center of our faith, the Eucharist. And then guess what? Our job is to take people and bring them to the Eucharist. So it's the starting point and the end point of everything we do as evangelists. Okay? Now and I'm going to do this at the end real quick, but and I'm going to need a Bible, which I didn't bring up here. Jack, you got a Bible? Would you go run downstairs?
I can go borrow one from you.
No, go run downstairs. Tell them you're going to go in my office. Go in my office, and on that little desk, on the little table in the corner is a black bound Bible. Grab that guy for me, please. In a cloth cover.
In a cloth cover.
So.
In a cloth cover.
First of all, I want to see if you guys, before I do this kind of do's and don'ts and why people don't evangelize, I want you guys to ask me questions about the program, about what's going on. But let me give you a little history before I do that again. I was teaching a class. I worked 4 years as a director of campus ministry at Texas Tech before I came back here the last 6 years. There's no reason to hiss Tech. Why? Tech didn't do it. Tech, first of all, I'll tell you right now, okay? Tech has the closest culture to any campus in this country, to A&M probably, as any other campus. So, in other words, the students and the culture on campus is more like Texas A&M than any other campus in this country, to be my guess. Just an FYI. And secondly, I love my time at Tech. But I don't want to go into it too much. But at Tech, I was teaching a class on apologetics and evangelization. It was a semester-long class, okay? And I was teaching people how to defend the faith. Apologetics is how do you defend the faith? How do you answer questions that come up about the faith? And apologetics is a lot of what people think this program is about, and it's really not, because apologetics can only do one thing. It's kind of like a car is driving down a road and a tree has fallen in the way and covering the road, okay? Apologetics, the only thing that apologetics can do is take the tree out of the way. It can't move that car forward any. So if somebody is on the road to God and there's a barrier for them to get there, apologetics can merely help remove the barrier. It can't get somebody closer. Evangelization is the whole process of moving somebody closer, so it also encompasses, that is the one on, it also encompasses what apologetics is, okay? So I was teaching this class, and every week I would challenge my students to do something different, more challenging. So the first week it was, tell somebody that doesn't know you're Catholic that you're Catholic. That's simple enough, isn't it? So stop and think about somebody, might be somebody in class that you hadn't met recently. Could be a roommate, which there are some people who probably have roommates that don't know they're Catholic, or a friend, or somebody else, right? Co-worker, whatever it is. Find somebody, tell them you're Catholic. Second, ask that person the next week. Next week was, okay, ask that person if they have any questions about the Catholic faith and see if you can answer. You know, and I progressively got harder and harder through the semester. And towards the end of the semester, I said, all right, we're going to go on campus and we're going to put up a sign that says, I'm Catholic, ask me anything you want. And that's how I got born. And they all went, yeah, let's go do it. Can you come with us? And I said, yeah, I'll go with you. And I promised I'd go. You promised? Yes, I'll go. And so the first day, I showed up and I sat about 50 yards away and sat on a bench. And I watched them. I was there. I did not break my promise. And so I sat there for about half an hour and just watched to see what would happen. And boy, there was a big group of people that gathered right around me and started talking. And there's this little guy, he's probably about this tall. This other guy's about 6'6". One of the Catholics is about this tall. This big guy, about 6'6". He comes up and he starts looking, and he's doing this in this guy's face. And you can tell he's getting red and upset. And I'm like, okay, time to step in. So I walk over there, and this is what we do at Ask a Catholic a Question, okay? We do not walk up and say, what's your question, how can I help you? I walked up and I said, hey, I'm Marcel, what's your name? I'm John, or whatever it was, I don't remember the name. I said, so what, where are you from, John? Oh, I'm from, I don't know where he said. What's your major? What are you studying here at Tech? And then I started asking him questions about other things before I ever got to the questions. And I calmed him down. And I showed that I had a concern for him as a human being, as a person. Because that's really what it's about. I looked him in the eye and I engaged him and I talked to him nicely and calmly. And he calmed down. I said, okay, John, tell me what your question is. And he said, well, I was just asking, why is it you Catholics, how could you ever be Catholic when you got this whole thing with the Inquisition where millions of people got killed by the Catholic Church? And I explained it to him. I said, first of all, if the Catholic Church is guilty of killing anybody, we do not apologize for that. I'm on your side of this. The Catholic Church, if anybody was unjustly killed, it wasn't a proper thing to do. And secondly, if this did happen in the way that it said, there weren't millions of people that died in the Inquisition. It was much lower than that. That's just, this really historically inaccurate number. And third, really, it was because the government was tied up with the church and all these other problems that happened. And I explained this whole process to him about the Inquisition. And the way I explained it, I didn't do it in a way that was defensive. I didn't get angry about it. He's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, man. I really appreciate that. And he walked away, and he was smiling when he walked away. When I walked up, the guy was doing this in the guy's face. When he walked away, he was smiling. That was the first time we did Ask a Catholic a Question. And I will tell you, that's still the way we do it today. Okay? Rachel, do you need something?
No, I'm just listening.
Okay. So the whole point about Ask a Catholic a Question is to go and engage in dialogue with people on campus so that we can share our faith. That's what we do. We talk to them. Okay, so if you look, the do's and don'ts, the first thing you got to do is you got to smile at people. Now, my face is not made to smile, okay? My face naturally looks like I'm angry and I want to punch you. I'm serious, it's something about it. Tori is scared of me, so.
I'm laughing.
I know. No, I do. But I actually have to make myself smile. When I go on campus and I do something, I smile at people. I'm actually, I'm happy to see you.
It's a creepy smile, but it's a smile.
I don't smile quite like this. I used to. No, I don't do that. But you smile. And you got to talk to people. You got to introduce yourself, okay? Just make conversation with a human being in front of you. And by the way, your phone does not come out. Phone goes in your pocket. In your headphones, never. And ask another question, okay? How can you talk to somebody if you've got all this electronic interference, right? You just do not do that. You're not texting, you're not. Yeah, so John chapter 6, anyway. And you got to be very careful in the words you choose. Because anything you say, remember, they're going to say the Catholic Church says this, or a Catholic said this to me today. They're going to interpret it in light of what the Catholic Church teaches. That's a big responsibility, isn't it? So be careful in what you say, and also remember that you have, if you go out there and talk for the church, you're talking for the church, which means we leave our personal opinions back behind, right? It can't be. If we've got a disagreement with the Catholic Church, it is not our place to go out there and say, the church teaches this, but I have a problem with it. That's second. And the second point about that is you probably need to educate yourself more on what the church really teaches, because a lot of times we have these misconceptions, right? So this also is going to show blind spots in what we understand about the Catholic Church. So when somebody comes up and says, by the way, can you tell me about justification from the book of Romans? Because Romans says that you're justified by faith alone, and all this, all this. You're going to have to know what the book of Romans actually says in order to defend that against somebody who's talking about faith alone and what the book of Romans says. You're going to have to know what the book of Romans says about justification, right? First of all, justification is a very big word, and it can be used in very many different ways. What exactly does that mean? If I just completely confuse you, that's okay. That just showed a blind spot in what we understand, right? Now you know a blind spot if you didn't know before. You have one. And basically, justification is being made right with God. In other words, it's salvation. How are we justified? It's seen as just, as good by God, good enough to go to heaven, in other words. How does God allow us to go to heaven when we're sinners on earth? It's a good question, right? It's because of God's grace. It's because Jesus loves us even though we were still sinners. Scriptures tell us, right? So, another one is, you can always use your personal testimony. This is a very powerful and very good way to evangelize, because, remember, if I come up and I say, hey, my name's Marcel, and let me tell you about Jesus Christ, right? And how he worked in my life, and he changed my life, and this is how he changed my life. You can't argue with that, can you? No. You can't argue with somebody's story. And if you are arguing with somebody's story, then you're going to be, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to pull a hammy or something. Okay. Now, another one is, you got to be charitable. That means you got to be nice. So, we do not, and this is in the don'ts, we do not yell, we do not scream, we do not argue, we do not raise our voices. Now, there are going to be times when your heartbeat will start to pump, because you will get upset, because people will throw charges at the church. If somebody comes up and says, you poor soul, I can't believe that as a woman, you would ever have anything to do with that old anti-woman, war on women Catholic Church who wants to bring them down and take away their reproductive freedoms, and they're just going to go off on that. And you're like, oh my gosh. Your heart's going to because you're going, I'm just pissed off because they're attacking my church and they're attacking me. And that's our natural reaction, isn't it? I remember when I was in college one time, and I found out a close friend was pro-abortion. I was like, I'm going to punch a wall. I'm going to punch the wall. I'm going to punch the wall. And we had a little yelling match. Boy, that helped a lot. Yelling matches always help. Didn't help at all. Another one is you got to use active listening. You got to look them in the eye, and you have to actually listen to what they say. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Okay? Listen. Because all too often, what do? When we're in this discussion, we're thinking about the answer. Oh, yeah. No, that's not what Jesus said. Okay? You're like, I'm going to beat you down with the real truth. Is that really going to help somebody? And we put ourselves in other people's shoes. Where are they coming from? Why do they believe this? What kind of experiences in life have brought them to this? Maybe they were raised in a really good home, but this person didn't go to church. And so they're raised with these cultural assumptions about the Catholic Church that they've never had anybody to talk to about. Right? We don't know. Maybe this person's just absorbed what the culture has taught them about sex and about God and about all these things. And we don't know their experience. So we have to walk a mile in their shoes. And that does help, because now we can understand where they're coming from. We can understand the person in front of us and why they believe what they believe, or don't believe what they don't believe, right? Another one is, invitation is a very easy way to evangelize. You can do this anywhere, anytime, not just on campus, okay? Invite somebody to come with you to church. Invite somebody to go get a cup of coffee so you can talk more about this. Try to find common ground. Now, this is going to be easier with some people than others. But I guarantee you I can find common ground with any student on the campus of Texas A&M within 90 seconds. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. Part of it is because I know almost every little town in Texas. I passed through it or know where it is, and all I got to do is say, where are you from? They say, I'm from Dallas. Okay, you really from Dallas? Dallas? Or are you from Euless? Are you from Garland? Are you from Plano? Where are you from? Oh, I'm actually from Richards. Oh, I see, you're not from Dallas.
You're not from Dallas.
You're not from Dallas. Why'd you say Dallas? Oh, because there nobody knows where Richardson is. And it's up here, Dallas, right? And everybody knows where. So now we're talking about something that's a little bit more personal. I'm engaged at least somehow with somebody on campus. Okay? Try to find something common. And especially when it comes to faith issues. If somebody says something that is slightly off, but most of it is really good, affirm most of what is really good. If somebody says, look, I have this real close relationship with Jesus Christ. I mean, the Lord came into my life,